Here's something that might surprise you. The calmest people in the room aren't born that way. They've trained their minds to stay cool when everything around them is falling apart. And you might be doing the exact opposite without even realizing it. Every time pressure hits, your brain goes into panic mode, making terrible decisions, saying things you regret, and pushing people away. Today, I want to talk to you about something that could change everything, because staying calm under pressure isn't about suppressing your emotions. It's about rewiring how you respond to chaos. And once you understand this, nothing will rattle you the same way again. Look, I spent decades studying human behavior, watching people in boardrooms, airports, negotiations, you name it. And here's what hit me hard one day. I was giving a presentation to 300 people and my mind went completely blank, total freeze. My heart was pounding, palms sweating, and I thought, this is it, Allan, you're done. But something strange happened. Instead of fighting the panic, I just paused, took a breath, and let the silence sit there. 30 seconds later, everything came back. The audience didn't even notice. That moment taught me something crucial. Pressure doesn't break you. Your reaction to pressure breaks you. Most people think staying calm means being emotionless or pretending everything's fine. That's rubbish. Real calmness comes from understanding how your brain works under stress and then training it to respond differently. This isn't about being a robot. It's about giving yourself the mental space to think clearly when it matters most. And trust me, this applies everywhere. Your relationships, your career, your health, everything. So let me explain what I've learned from watching thousands of people handle pressure, both brilliantly and terribly. Let's get something straight right from the start. Pressure isn't going anywhere. It's not leaving your life. It's not going to politely step aside because you asked nicely. Deadlines, arguments, financial stress, health scares, difficult conversations. They're coming whether you're ready or not. And here's where it gets interesting. Some people face pressure and become sharper, clearer, more focused. They make better decisions when the stakes are high. Others, they completely fall apart. Same pressure, totally different outcomes. Why? It's not because some people are naturally calm and others aren't. That's a myth I've watched people believe for decades. I've seen nervous wrecks transform into the steadiest people in the room, and I've seen confident people crumble under the slightest stress. So what's really going on? Here's the thing. Your brain has a default setting when pressure hits. And for most people, that setting is absolute chaos. Your heart races, your breathing gets shallow, your thoughts start spinning like a washing machine. And suddenly you're saying things you don't mean, making decisions you'll regret, or freezing up completely. Some of you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe you've been in a meeting where someone criticized your work, and instead of responding thoughtfully, you got defensive. Words came out wrong. You sounded angry when you weren't. Or maybe you went completely quiet when you should have spoken up. Or maybe it's at home. Your partner says something that triggers you, and instead of having a calm conversation, it escalates into a full-blown argument. Both of you saying things you don't mean. Both of you walking away feeling worse than before. I've watched this play out thousands of times. In my work studying body language and communication, I've seen how pressure changes people. Their shoulders tense up, their facial expressions become defensive, their voice pitch rises. Everything about them screams, I'm not handling this well. And here's what's painful to admit, I've been that person more times than I'd like to remember. Years ago, I was negotiating a major book deal. This was a big moment for my career. And the publisher said something that caught me off guard. They questioned whether my ideas were original enough. Now, looking back, it was probably just a negotiation tactic. But at the moment, my brain went into full defense mode. I started justifying myself, talking too fast, getting visibly frustrated. And you know what happened? The deal fell through, not because my ideas weren't good enough, but because I couldn't stay calm when it mattered most. My reaction told them more about me than my words ever could. That's what pressure does. It reveals who you are when the mask comes off. The problem isn't that you experience stress. That's completely human. The problem is that most people have never learned to manage their internal response to stress. Nobody teaches this in school. Your parents probably didn't know how to do it either. So you're essentially running on default programming that was designed for escaping lions, not handling difficult emails. Your brain treats an angry text message the same way it treats a physical threat. Same chemicals, same panic response, same inability to think clearly. And that's ridiculous when you think about it. But that's what's happening inside your head every single day. Let me paint you a picture of what this costs you. When you can't stay calm under pressure, you damage relationships. You say things you can't take back. You make people feel attacked when you didn't mean to attack them. Your body language communicates aggression or fear even when your words are reasonable. When you can't stay calm under pressure, you make terrible decisions. Your brain literally can't access higher level thinking when it's flooded with stress hormones. You're operating on instinct, not intelligence. And instinct is often wrong. When you can't stay calm under pressure, you miss opportunities. That job interview where you got nervous and fumbled your answers. That conversation where you could have spoken up but didn't. That moment where confidence would have changed everything, but fear took over instead. This isn't just about feeling better. This is about what your life becomes when pressure controls you versus when you control your response to pressure. Now, here's where most people get it completely wrong. They think staying calm means suppressing their emotions, pushing them down, pretending they don't exist, walking around like some emotionless robot who doesn't feel anything. That's not calmness. That's a pressure cooker waiting to explode. I've seen people try this approach for years. They bottle everything up, act like nothing bothers them, and then one day they snap. All that suppressed emotion comes flooding out at the worst possible moment, usually aimed at someone who didn't deserve it. So let me give you a different way to think about this. Calmness isn't the absence of emotion, it's the presence of control. You feel the pressure, you acknowledge it, you just don't let it hijack your brain. Think of it like this. Imagine you're driving a car and suddenly a warning light comes on. A reactive person panics, jerks the wheel, maybe causes an accident. A calm person notices the light, acknowledges it, and pulls over safely to check what's wrong. Same warning, totally different response. Your emotions are warning lights. They're giving you information. The problem is when you let that information take over the entire dashboard. Here's the aha moment that changed everything for me. I realized that between stimulus and response, there's a gap, a tiny window where you get to choose. Most people don't even know that gap exists. They think the stimulus causes the response automatically. Someone insults you, so you get angry. Pressure hits, so you panic. It feels automatic, but it's not automatic. It's just fast, really, really fast. And the beautiful thing is you can train yourself to widen that gap, to slow things down enough that you actually get to choose your response instead of reacting on autopilot. I remember sitting across from a man who was trying to intimidate me in a business meeting. He was using all the classic power plays, leaning forward aggressively, raising his voice, making dismissive gestures. A few years earlier, I would have matched his energy, got defensive, made the whole thing worse. But this time I did something different. I noticed my body starting to react, heart rate going up, shoulders tensing. And instead of following that wave of energy, I deliberately slowed my breathing. I lowered my voice, relaxing my posture. Took my time before responding. You know what happened? He got uncomfortable. My calmness completely threw him off his game. He expected me to react, and when I didn't, he didn't know what to do. By the end of that meeting, he was the one backpedaling. That's the power of staying calm. It changes the entire dynamic of an interaction. But let me address something some of you might be thinking. Allan, that sounds great, but you don't understand my situation. The pressure I'm under is different. It's constant, it's overwhelming. I can't just decide to be calm. Look, I hear you. I'm not saying this is easy. I'm not saying pressure disappears because you think positive thoughts. What I'm saying is that your response to pressure is a skill, and like any skill, it can be developed. You weren't born knowing how to drive a car. You weren't born knowing how to read. You learn these things through practice. Staying calm under pressure works the same way. The first few times you try this, you'll probably fail. You'll notice the gap too late after you've already reacted. That's normal. That's part of the learning process. But with practice, you start catching yourself earlier. The gap gets wider. Your control gets stronger. Some of you have been living in reactive mode for so long that it feels like who you are. But it's not who you are. It's just what you've practiced. And you can practice something different. Here's something I want you to really understand. Your brain is incredibly adaptable. It's called neuroplasticity. Every time you practice responding calmly to pressure, you're literally rewiring your brain, creating new pathways, making calmness more automatic. The people who stay calm under pressure aren't superhuman. They've just practiced this more than you have. That's it. That's the whole secret. All right, let's get practical, because understanding the theory is great, but you need tools you can actually use when pressure hits. First, master your breathing. This might sound too simple, but hear me out. Your breath is the remote control to your nervous system. When you're stressed, your breathing becomes quick and shallow. This tells your brain there's danger, which triggers more stress hormones. It's a vicious cycle, but here's the hack. You can reverse engineer this process. By deliberately slowing and deepening your breath, you send a signal to your brain that you're safe. The stress response starts to calm down. Your thinking clears up. Here's a technique I've used for years. When pressure hits, breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, breathe out for 6 counts. That extended exhale is the key. It activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your body's relaxation response. Do this 3 times before responding to anything stressful. 3 breaths, 12 seconds. That's all it takes to start shifting your mental state. Second, watch your body language. Here's something fascinating I've learned from decades of studying nonverbal communication. Your body language doesn't just reflect how you feel. It actually influences how you feel. When you're stressed, you probably hunch your shoulders, cross your arms, or make yourself smaller. These defensive postures actually increase your stress hormones. Your body is telling your brain to stay on high alert. But if you deliberately open up your posture, even when you don't feel confident, your brain starts to follow. Stand tall, shoulders back, arms uncrossed, take up space. I've tested this countless times. In stressful meetings, I'll consciously adopt open, relaxed body language even when my insides are churning. And within minutes, I start feeling calmer. My body leads and my mind follows. Try this next time you're under pressure. Change your posture before you try to change your thoughts. It works faster. Third, create mental distance. When pressure hits, everything feels urgent and personal. The problem is right in your face, consuming your entire awareness. You can't see anything else. One technique that helps is to imagine yourself as an observer watching the situation from across the room, like you're watching a movie of yourself in this stressful moment. This creates psychological distance and helps you see things more objectively. Another version of this is what I call 10-10-10. Ask yourself, how will I feel about this in 10 minutes, 10 months, 10 years? Usually, the thing that feels like a crisis right now won't matter at all in 10 months. This perspective helps you respond proportionally instead of treating everything like an emergency. Fourth, slow down your speech. When pressure hits, most people start talking faster. Their voice gets higher. They interrupt. They fill every silence with nervous chatter. This is terrible for 2 reasons. 1, it makes you appear less confident and in control. 2, it actually increases your own stress levels. Fast talking triggers fast thinking, which triggers more anxiety. Instead, deliberately slow down. Lower your voice slightly, pause before responding. Let silences exist without rushing to fill them. I remember watching a brilliant negotiator handle an extremely hostile situation. Everyone in the room was getting heated, talking over each other, voices rising, and this person just sat there calm, speaking slowly and quietly. Everyone had to lean in to hear. And gradually, the whole room calmed down and matched their energy. Calmness is contagious. But so is panic. Choose what you spread. Fifth, prepare your mind in advance. Here's something most people miss. You shouldn't wait until pressure hits to start managing it. The best time to train your mind is when you're not under pressure. Each day, spend 5 minutes visualizing yourself handling stressful situations calmly, that difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Picture yourself staying composed, that presentation you're nervous about. Imagine yourself speaking with confidence and ease. This isn't just positive thinking. This is a mental rehearsal. Athletes use it constantly. When the high pressure moment arrives, your brain has already practiced the response you want. What you should avoid is catastrophizing. Stop playing worst case scenarios in your head over and over. Stop rehearsing disasters. Every time you do that, you're training your brain to panic. Avoid letting other people's stress become your stress. Just because someone else is freaking out doesn't mean you need to join them. Their emotions are their responsibility, yours are yours. And avoid the temptation to react immediately. In most situations, nothing bad happens if you take 30 seconds to collect yourself before responding. That email doesn't need an instant reply. That comment doesn't need an immediate comeback. Give yourself space. Now let me be honest with you, because I'm not here to sell you a fantasy. This is hard. It's really hard. You're fighting against millions of years of evolutionary programming. Your brain is designed to react quickly to threats because that kept your ancestors alive. And now you're trying to override that programming in situations that feel threatening. You will fail at this. Multiple times you'll have moments where you completely lose your cool despite knowing better. You'll say things you regret. You'll react when you should have responded. That's going to happen. And when it does, I want you to remember something important. Every single person who stays calm under pressure today was once terrible at it. They failed repeatedly. They lost their temper. They made bad decisions under stress. And then they learned, they practiced, they got better. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being better than you were yesterday. Let me tell you about someone I met early in my career. A business leader, very successful, one of the calmest people I'd ever encountered, unshakable. I assumed he was just born that way. Some people are naturally calm, right? Then he told me his story. 20 years earlier, he'd been known for his explosive temper. He'd destroyed relationships, lost jobs, nearly lost his marriage. His inability to handle pressure was ruining his life. So he dedicated himself to changing therapy, meditation, practicing every day, and slowly, over years, he rewired himself. The person I met wasn't born calm. He was built calm through thousands of small choices and constant practice. That story gives me hope, and I hope it gives you hope too. Because whatever your starting point, you can get better at this. Your current reactions aren't your destiny. But you have to commit, not just when it's convenient, not just when you remember. Every single day, every stressful moment is an opportunity to practice. Either you practice reacting or you practice responding. There's no neutral. Some of you are scared that if you stop reacting emotionally, you'll become cold, unfeeling, that you'll lose something important about yourself. But that's not what happens. What happens is you gain something. You gain the ability to feel your emotions without being controlled by them. You gain the clarity to express what you actually mean instead of what your panic blurts out. You gain deeper relationships because people feel safe around you. You gain better decisions because your brain actually works properly. You don't lose your passion. You gain the ability to channel it effectively. So here's where we are. You now understand that staying calm under pressure isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about creating space between stimulus and response. It's about training your brain to respond differently. It's about using your body, your breath, your posture, and your perspective to influence your mental state. You have tools, breathing techniques, body language awareness, mental distance, slowing your speech, advanced preparation. And you know this is a skill you can develop, not something you're born with or without, something you can practice and improve. Now the question is, what are you going to do with this? Tomorrow, pressure will show up in your life. It might be small, a frustrating email, a rude comment, traffic that makes you late, or it might be big, a conflict at work, a problem in your relationship, a health scare, a financial crisis. Either way, you'll have a choice. React on autopilot the way you always have, or pause. Breathe. Choose your response consciously. I want you to imagine something for me. Imagine yourself 1 year from now after practicing this every day. Imagine being the person in the room who stays calm when everyone else is losing it. Imagine having difficult conversations without them turning into fights. Imagine making clear decisions under pressure instead of panicked ones. Imagine the confidence that comes from knowing you can handle whatever comes your way. That person is available to you. Not because you'll suddenly become someone different, but because you'll have practiced a different response so many times that it becomes automatic. The calmest people aren't special. They've just trained their minds. And you can train yours too. So here's my challenge. Tomorrow, find one moment of pressure, just one. It doesn't have to be big. And when it happens, pause. Take 3 slow breaths, relax your shoulders, and then choose your response deliberately. Do this once a day for a week. Then increase it. Keep practicing until calmness becomes your default. You're not changing who you are. You're becoming who you were meant to be, someone who feels deeply but isn't controlled by those feelings. Someone who handles chaos with grace. Someone others look to when things get hard. That's within your reach. Starting now, your mind is more powerful than you give it credit for. Train it well, and nothing will rattle you the same way again.